Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bitcoin SV Train channel. This is John. Today I was lucky enough to speak to Jack Lew, the founder of RelayX and FloatSV. Been trying to talk to him for quite a while now, so it was good to finally pin him down. He opens up a little bit about who he is and what his grander vision is for Bitcoin SV and the world in general. I think it's pretty good, and I really hope that Jack will come back, maybe one more time or even regularly to talk to us. So anyway, check it out and see for yourself. Later. All right, welcome. We're here today with Jack Lew, founder of RelayX and also FloatSV, but there's a lot more to the story than that, isn't there, Jack?
Yeah, it's a lot of things going on in BSV as always.
Well, you've actually been around Bitcoin and all its derivatives for a long time now. You were over at OKCoin, and you also worked at Kraken, and you've probably played more of a role in a lot of other projects than people would think. So, can you just give us a bit of a brief timeline and tell everyone how you got to this point and how you got into it in the first place?
Sure. Uh, I started my career in traditional finance at Barclays in Hong Kong,
Yep.
where I was on the derivatives desk. And then in 2013, I moved to Valley to do a fintech startup of
Uh-huh.
my own. About 2 or 3 months in, I read the Bitcoin white paper and got really fascinated. So I think the first thing I did in space was start a blog. And that happened to be read by a few people in the industry at that time. And I was fortunate enough to join Jesse Powell at Kraken in San Francisco
Okay.
in 2014.
And
And since then, I've been at OKCoin, at OKLink, and at OKEX. And then so the last year and a half before Relay, at Circle, so running the OTC desk in Asia, and then did a little work on the X also.
that's a pretty wide variety there. So, of all of those, which one would you say gave you the best learning experience for what you need?
I think definitely the OK experience. It was really the longest. I was there for 3 years,
Uh,
and China has been a hotbed for crypto for a long time. And OK, people don't remember potentially, but it was by far the largest exchange before the China ban came in.
yeah.
And there's been a lot of people that have left OK over the years to start uh, great companies and very large companies. So that includes, Binance, people know, and there's many others. So from that, I think got to experience all kinds of things. Most critically, how to execute fast.
Yeah, yeah. And from there, you've gone on to start RelayX and Float SV. Now, I know you've said in past interviews, Float SV is not really where you want to focus, but it's a useful service. RelayX is where you're at the moment. So the main I would say the main appeal of RelayX is its integration with all of the other different mainstream financial services. How long did it take to coordinate all of that?
Um, well, I think if you design things correctly, it doesn't take as long as you think.
Uh,
So the reason I said, well, let's go back a step. I think if Binance never delisted ESV, and remember, it wasn't just Binance delisting it. There was a huge swarm around social media talking about every other exchange
yeah.
delisting ESV also. I don't think I would have ever launched. So it was really launched out of that necessity, period. But at that time, I was already working on RelayX and specifically to connect all these wallets and future bank accounts. We basically did a protocol behind all things going on at RelayX, and we're going to open that up for the community to connect with and integrate with very soon.
Right. And it's going to integrate with things like WeChat Pay, Alipay, all of those other services as well. How long before all of those are active?
They are very active. There's like 6 or 7 wallets we've made active for now, but really we are testing the kind of interplay back and forth because it is not a traditional integration. It is actually a peer-to-peer kind of fiat BSV exchange.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things there with regards to exchange rates, timing, confirmation of payment, etc. It's not as easy as sort of on-chain to on-chain transaction because obviously one side of your transaction is always on-chain.
Yeah. And I think your focus is it's more with bringing people into the BSV world rather than just finding better ways to spend BSV. Some people call it onboarding. Some people just call it introducing or integrating. What steps are you taking to get people more interested in using Bitcoin?
I think people don't understand really what it is. It's not just for payments. It's basically got significant advantages over every single product we currently use today. So I really don't care about onboarding people to BSV per se. I just want to allow everyday people to have a better experience on the internet without even knowing that they bought BSV. So I see that basically on-chain is going to be a brutal competition between different services because it's very hard to maintain a walled garden on-chain.
Yeah.
I recognize that and I appreciate that, and I think that's great. But most people right now are not on-chain, right? It's like 99% of the 99.99% of the world population don't do activity on the blockchain. So if you could just essentially build a very thin layer around the blockchain that allows people to kind of go on chain and go up without really understanding what's going on, then basically you can bring the on-chain products that people are creating right now into people's everyday experience.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that working in coming from the traditional finance world gave you a slightly better perspective than some of the people who came from a technology background or you only ever did crypto, that kind of thing?
No, I hated traditional finance every day. I was interested in finance.
Yeah.
So I tell my story like this. I didn't change my world at all from reading Bitcoin. I had a certain type of view. I joke that, if I had a weapon and I invited my elementary friends or my middle school friends or my high school friends or my university friends or my career friends, they would all have the same story that I basically had a certain view of the world since as far as I remember. And because I'm not a technologist myself, I never really knew how it would happen. I knew it would happen. But when I read the Bitcoin white paper, that was the moment when I realized, okay, there's nothing stopping that from happening. So it was kind of the perspective comes from the fact that I went to 12 schools probably, and in 5 different countries. So I had different information sources and different teachers and different adjustments and different languages all growing up. So I kind of saw through some things pretty young.
So how did you come to end up moving around so much? Was it family?
Yeah, my dad's a chemist, and my mom's a doctor, and a lot of our relatives in their generation in the first crop of Chinese abroad. So basically, when Chinese go abroad, it's one of 2 ways. It's either as an investor or as like a talent, kind of skilled labor.
Yep.
And I think my dad qualified for that. Our family, Japan when I was 6, and then Canada when I was 9, and US when I was 13. And then within that, obviously adjusting to those countries, we also moved around within the city.
Yeah, and it's probably influenced the way you look at things now because you, I may be wrong here, but you seem to be promoting a kind of a digital nomad lifestyle. With the bootcamps you're organizing, like the one in Bali coming up, and just the videos you put out, they seem to suggest a sort of kind of a mobile lifestyle. Is that the way you see everyone working in the future?
Yeah, I think I went to 12 schools. Maybe people in the future go to 1,200 schools. Uh,
Mm.
it seems better that way to have a customized education, customized upbringing. I don't think people in the future want to spend 4 years at a specific like kind of 5 by 5 block radius to study
Yeah.
at a campus. You're not going to find the best professors there. You're not going to find all the courses you want to take there. I mean, look how long it took Bitcoin to be added to any university curriculum. I think it was like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Um, and then professionally, I think I was influenced by the fact that I don't know if you know, but if you're a doctor in a foreign country and then you come to a new country, you can't practice medicine.
Yeah.
You almost have to get your degree. A lot of that is just based on mismatches in information. But of course, for the safety of national health or whatever, you don't want people that didn't go through certain accreditation to be practicing medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And likewise, if you're a chemist, if you're creating drugs and formulas, you want to go through specific kind of FDA 1, FDA 2, FDA 3 approval. But through the experiences of my parents as they adjusted to different countries, you could just see that if you had a better idea of what people's talents really were, then the regulation and different rules would change, and then people's opportunities would be kind of much more fair across circumstances. So I believe in the kind of digital nomadish lifestyle, not for the lifestyle per se, but because I think that allows people's talents to more be accelerated in time.
Yeah, and it makes people a bit more adaptable too, I think. Once if you've only ever lived in one country and then you have to go to another one, everything just seems weird and strange. But if you've done it multiple times, you realize that everywhere is weird and strange, and as soon as you adjust to the quirks, it's pretty cool and it's pretty much the same. But you just make those adjustments. How many countries did you say you've lived in?
For more than 1 year, or maybe more than 2 years, 5.
5, right. Do you have a favorite?
I don't know. I like the ones these days that look more like nature, I guess.
You're right.
I'm not as much of a city person as I got older.
Interesting to know. Well, I want to talk to you more about your grander vision too, because I think that comes out in some of the things you say. You talk more like with a grand perspective. Like other people talk about features, whereas you're talking, 100 years away from now. You posted a letter to my future self on the blockchain, and that was pretty interesting. Did you want people to actually read that?
Yeah. I said that actually to all the colleagues of mine at Circle when I departed. It was kind of my farewell letter, but I also put on the blockchain as a guiding principle, not just for me to stay focused on that vision, but also for anyone else who works with me, that to really understand what is it we're all here for. And maybe I can explain the letter, or you can explain it.
I'd prefer you did, since you were the one who wrote it, and you're the one who's probably going to have to read it back to yourself in, I don't know, whenever you plan to come back and see this personal time capsule.
Yeah, I think the letter, it was about a letter to my future self. So a lot of people write letters to their younger self. You see those kind of things, what they wish they knew. And the letter to my future self is kind of telling that person about the society we live in today, and how it is not frictionless. It is people are not getting paid for the value of their creation, and there's a lot of inequality and things like that going on, and people's time is not really valued. And envisioning that with a Bitcoin future, then all that will change. And hoping that I don't have to be working on Bitcoin for so long before we see that happen.
How long do you think it will take? Like, what's your time frame, do you think?
Well, I don't know. If it takes 200 years, that does not make me more of a visionary to have seen 200 years ahead. That's not what it is, right? Um, People look at Steve Jobs videos from like the 1970s and they react like, oh my God, he saw things 40 years ahead. I don't think that's the case at all. Certainly, I don't wake up thinking, what should the world look like in 100 years? I think about what the world theoretically could look like right now, like today.
Okay.
Then if it takes 200 years to realize it, that means we failed. That means it's like bad. Like it should have been theoretically maybe 1 day or 1 year to realize it. So the goal is to make it happen faster. All the pieces are there. However long it takes, it takes. That's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess some things do need time to evolve, and even some ideas and attitudes need time to evolve too. Like, maybe we have the technology, but just there's no will for it now.
Yeah, but I think it's got to happen faster. I mean, I thought it was happen by now, some of this, and I played a role at different companies. Very humbly, still today, thinking that others better than me would have formed this world. But it took me a long time until I realized most people don't have the same hope, same perspective. So it's not a matter of execution, because they were not even thinking about executing towards this direction. And I was a young man when and Bitcoin was young, and I thought I would mature as Bitcoin matured. But now I'm like a slightly older person, going back into a very young BSV to do it again. So the sense of agency is definitely there.
Yeah, when BSV started, and it was just kind of like someone hit the reset button. We all went back to 2013 again. In a way.
Yeah, and quite frankly, if BSV doesn't grow, then we'll hit the reset button again.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So we have to get this happening right now.
I mean, you've already played a role in getting BSV beyond where it would have been otherwise. Like you've worked with some of the exchanges and some of the people, especially in Asia, to make that happen. Are you able to talk about any of that, like some of the things that you encountered, some of the people you spoke to, and how they were swayed?
I think most recently the BS org, as everyone knows, I was at Circle, and Poloniex was the first to launch BSV trading.
Right.
And if you look across the United States, most of the exchanges, including Poloniex, first put out a notice saying that they would go with the ABC branch for the hardware upgrade. And then I happened to be in Boston that week on a business trip, completely unrelated to this. And that's the headquarters of Circle. And I think I played some role in launching a BSV trading pod 7 days before BSV's first block.
So how did you do that? How did you convince them that BSV was the way to go rather than ABC?
Well, I always think about win-win solutions. So no matter what I think about the prospects for BSV, obviously, the exchange's job is to be neutral. So I think internally, as you can imagine, not everyone's doing operating BSV because they love BSV. They're kind of, probably at that time, if you look at even today, I think BSV trades at a lower price than BCH. So most people are biased towards the incumbent, towards BCH. But I felt like the argument I made was loosely, hey, this is something that is an exchange should offer. It should be neutral. There is a fork on the top. Who knows? Maybe some of the users do want both options. Even if you are a big BCH proponent, you may want to sell off your BSV for more BCH. So the sooner we do it that support both, it would be very neutral and value adding to the exchange with more users. And that is how it played out. I think we got a lot of deposits for BCH pre-fork. And because we wanted to trade both BCH ACH pair and the BSV pair. So that's how you always have to incentivize people with, I guess, financial benefits, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. You don't see any more exchanges dropping BSV in the future, do you?
It's possible. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to come to BSV. Where does that question come from?
I think it was because, we saw that flurry of exchanges like Binance and Kraken, etc., dumping BSV in a seemingly coordinated effort just in the last couple of months, whereas Poloniex didn't, CoinEx didn't. So do you think that there will be any more pushes to try and get rid of it that way, or do you think that everything's settled now? And do you think some will come back?
Come back, sure, but I'm not sure users will come back if they come back. I think that's kind of a massive loss once you listed it for your business, for this part of the business. I would never rule out other exchanges having another wave of banning BSV. And my basic assumption for BSV is expect anything can happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's very revolutionary and will disrupt a lot of industries if BSV takes off. So you have to be prepared for massive exchange delisting. You have to prepare for complete eradication from different app stores, etc. like that. So it's got to be a backup plan.
Yeah, that's true. And I think you also got a pretty unique perspective. I mean, not just because you've lived in all of the other places, but because a lot of your experience comes from the Asian part of the world, which probably a lot of people listening to this or who read the English-speaking news sites, they don't really understand it. Is it different, do you think? Like, is there a completely different perspective in Asia compared to the rest of the world?
I guess I'm so kind of used to all the different environments that I don't think of it so different to me, but whenever I have a foreign friend visiting in town, they're often blown away, obviously, by the speed of the execution. And so I remember when BSV first kind of came into the forefront, you hear about companies like SendFee, Handcash, MoneyButton, and some of the Western known ones. And then, but there's just so many more other companies being born out of Asia. It's just people ship products really fast. Although I have to say that everything happening in BSV is very fast, so no surprise there. But there's also just so much more potential. So if you look at the world, if the world does become a proof of work world, then the sheer population numbers are going to start bearing out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, United States has a population of 300 million. I think of it like it got off to such a lead over the Eastern countries in the 1700s, 1800s, because their rule of law based on the Constitution of the United States was more favorable for growth and innovation and productivity and earning what you deserve. I think the U.S. had low taxes for a long, long time, high level property rights, etc. But if you think about the BSV ledger at a very macro level, providing that for anyone on the planet, then you should see prosperity, aggregate prosperity happen a lot more in more populated places.
Yeah. Do you think the world is getting more prosperous now? I think some people are getting cynical about that because they think we're all headed for a big crunch at some stage. Are you optimistic, or do you think that we have to go through some pain before we see that I don't know, the new economic paradigm that everyone wants in Bitcoin?
I guess if you think about BSV as the lifeboat to the Titanic, but we have a chance to make that lifeboat as big as we want, as nice as we want, because it's a unlimited scale blockchain. Then my attention is just focused on making that lifeboat the best lifeboat ever and make it even bigger than the Titanic, even better than whatever. So then my focus area, I really don't give a crap to how the Titanic is doing and how fast it's sinking or if it's not sinking. Because you're just building something that's better. And then so if you just keep on making that a better place to live, better place to do commerce on, better place to trade, better place to put content, etc., then do I care what, Silicon Valley's valuations are going through? Is there a tech bubble there? That's not really concern you anymore.
Yeah. But at the same time, you accept the premise that you are on a sinking ship and you've got to get off it somehow.
Well, no, I think I've gotten off because I'm kind of trying to live my life as much as I can on BSV. So again, we just got to be singularly focused on that. Because if you compare the technology of what the current economy is run on, which is off blockchain, versus what the economy could look like if it's all run on BSV, it's just going to be better. So whatever we have to do to make this blockchain better, more utility, more functional, that's just really focused on. And then that naturally becomes a safe haven for everyone else in the world, no matter what they're going through to join.
How much demand do you think there is for an alternate economy? We know in the Bitcoin, BSV community, we understand the benefits. Do you think most normal people out there really understand how they could be doing better by using this alternate system than using the traditional economy?
No, I think we understand why it might end up being better on BSV. I don't think any of us working on BSV thinks it's better really that now.
No.
Right now, we'd be lying to ourselves a little bit or just being delusional. It has the potential to build. You can potentially build at scale a better Twitter. Yeah. And I think Twitch is, for example, a little bit on its way. But that, let's be real, today the average person still enjoys the hundreds of other features they have on Twitter. That's just reality. No one's gonna make a political decision. No one's gonna make kind of an awareness decision. People are just gonna start using blockchain-based products when it really is on every level better. I think we just have to keep building to get there.
Yeah, I think maybe as long as they don't realize that they're using it, they might be more willing to come on board. Like, I think there's a lot of people in the world now that would benefit from using blockchain and Bitcoin, but they don't really get it enough to realize how they could benefit. So if you can sort of make it better without telling them that they have to accept Bitcoin into their lives, maybe that might be easier to convince more people. If they just see the advantages and not the name, the logo, the system, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but when we get BSV adopted, no one is going to see the logo or the system.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, you said to get it adopted. I mean, what's the process we have to follow there? Do we have to get it adopted by governments or corporations? Who's the most important market there?
This is why I like focusing on the digital nomad type of segment. So Bitcoin is a proof of work protocol, right?
Yep.
And a lot of those things that you talk about, corporations, governments, etc., they're not really proof of work. So very little incentive at this moment to adopt it.
Yeah.
You have to go think of this pie as 7 billion people and corporations and governments all mixed in a pool that you can go after. You have to go after, in economics, the incremental kind of marginal utility, the next user that can, the next moment, benefit from the service. So, like if I'm censored completely and I'm not allowed to be on Twitter, but I like Twitter, then maybe Twitch seems good to me. Right. If I have 100 million followers on Twitter and I'm doing great, Twitch doesn't seem at this moment that good.
Exactly.
Same with, if I have an American Express card and I'm Black card and I'm living in the high life in Miami or something, why would I want to use BSV?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you have to go after, in any product you build, I think the adoption point is the next incremental kind of user. But to get that is very different because traditionally, in the old economy, you want to land kind of mega deals. So you might hire a business development manager, you might hire like a marketing person to work on those relationships and partnerships. But we have largely seen that fail in the Bitcoin history. For all the hype of R3, for all the hype of digital asset, there's just not enough value right now to get that user. So again, you just target the very tail.
That's an interesting perspective. Yeah, I've heard people say that. Like, do we go for the bottom end of the economy or do we go for the top end of the economy? Like, obviously, users are going to come from the bottom end, or the users that will benefit most. Whereas, it's the people at the top end who maybe don't really need Bitcoin that are going to bring the value to it. And it's kind of some people call it the catch-22 of
and it's not as easy as what I hear in this space. Like, we should go after like emerging markets, and Bitcoin will be better in Africa than in America. It's not like that. It's just Bitcoin will be better for workers than stakers. So you find people who are basically undervalued in their current roles, in their current economy. If you think about people who have taken the jump and left a traditional career to do Bitcoin related stuff, it is someone who thinks, in banking, I'm not being recognized under this kind of system, and I'm going to go create value myself because I can capture that value. So in every single domain, you find the person who basically the market is not fairly pricing their creations, and then Bitcoin allows that to be more fairly captured. That is a person who's a doctor, regardless whether they today are rich or that's not really important.
Yeah, well, I definitely know that feeling. So you've met a lot of people in Bitcoin over the years, and you've hung out with some of the big movers and shakers. Is there anyone that you haven't met yet that you would like to talk to face to face?
I mean, the ones I haven't met are people like I don't know how I could meet them. Like I don't know who they are, like the miners in the world. But I think I'm grateful to have met most of the people in this space. And met them in a capacity, not like they made it big, I'm a starry-eyed fan, and then like hello and get an autograph. Not like that. Had a chance to work with them before they made it big, and collaborated on some things. And I kind of have a good idea, I think, how different people in the space think.
I was thinking more of someone you'd like to hang out in a beach house with for a week, and just get into some deep conversation with them. I mean, maybe not even in the Bitcoin world. Someone from outside that. Someone in business. Tech.
There's Amanda Ginobili is a great basketball player, but a great mind.
Right.
Meet him for sure.
Who was that? Sorry.
Manu Ginobili.
Oh, okay.
He's like invented a lot of things in basketball.
Right. And you said you also enjoy playing basketball too. How many people in Bitcoin have you played basketball with?
A few, not that many. Although we all are pretty bad now because I spend so much time on Bitcoin.
Right. I've actually got a question from Alex Agut here. He says he wants to know when you're gonna play a game of one-on-one with him.
Oh, tell him anytime. One BSB per basket.
All right, one BSB per basket. All right. I think we should get someone to video that game. That'd be a good one. We could.
Sure.
No,
we gotta play it on 1.5x speed because we're probably both moving pretty slow.
Sounds like a plan. Alrighty then. Since I don't want to take up too much of your time, but people have been sending me questions on Twitter that they want me to ask you. So do you mind if I run through a few of them and see how we go with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
The first one's from BitDaddy. He says, do RelayX have plans to add PayPal as a fiat rail at some point? And would direct relay to bank transfers be possible with an app like RelayX? So yeah, PayPal.
To add PayPal. I think we will be releasing a protocol where you can add whatever you want to add into the settlement layer, and then RelayX interface into a protocol. So there's definitely plans to do that. One of the things that's different about PayPal is it runs off of email addresses or phone numbers. It doesn't really run off of QR codes, which is the first batch of wallets that we added.
Right. And he also asked when he's going to be able to top up his RelayX wallet in the UK with fiat. Is that coming soon?
Yeah, I think in the next 1 or 2 months we'll see that.
All right. Excellent.
By the way, he's a great supporter and makes some good news about BSV.
What was that? Sorry.
Good Daddy, he's a great supporter. And I want to thank him and done some community work for us as well. And he makes music that he puts on Audio DB.
I was just about to say that. I've heard he's an excellent singer as well.
Sure.
Alrighty, and another one, by Flinty, or aka Discbit, from Twitter said is accepting US customers on the horizon.
For FloatSV?
He didn't actually say.
I think he probably talking about FloatSV. Mm-hmm. My answer on that has always been the same, which is there's very different regulatory hurdles in the United States, and we'd be happy to partner with someone who's licensed to do that in the United States. But until then, we just can't offer services to United States customers, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, it's always something we're working on, but I've seen my friends who live in the US. They have extremely limited options when it comes to getting in and out of crypto, whether it's Bitcoin or anything else. They're always complaining about Coinbase, but most people I know outside the US have never used Coinbase.
Yeah, well, Coinbase only expanded internationally in maybe the last year or two. So.
Yeah, and another one, Stefan February, aka Beard Papa. That's a great name. It's a great shop too. He said, when are we seeing broader support for the grayed out top-up methods? How many are there now?
So for some background, we have basically allowed you to see a range of mobile wallets, mostly in Asia, some in Africa, and some in Europe, that are the on and off ramps for Bitcoin. And 7 of them are live: Alipay, WeChat, Kakao, Paytm, PayMe, SnapScan, and PromptPay in Thailand. And there's a whole bunch that are grayed out, that maybe some in the Philippines, some elsewhere in Southeast Asia, etc. Basically, we are still optimizing for the settlement experience. So, when you run a peer-to-peer kind of settlement network, there's going to be a certain amount of transactions that go into limbo, or where the sender says they've sent, but the recipient said they have not received. And then you need like kind of a judge, which we will make peer-to-peer, the judging process of whether someone has sent or not, via kind of like proof of sent kind of receipts and different kind of uploads. So we want to make sure that the liquidity is there, the reliability is there, and the speed to top up and withdraw is there in the more concentrated wallets that we're working with now, before we open it up to the other grayed out wallets. So one of the great things about our system is once it gets good, it'll be good for every single wallet out there. And so that's kind of the explosive goal that we're aiming for. It's not going to be one of those things where we have to hire someone in a specific country to do BD for that wallet. At least there's a good news about that.
Cool. And Yobits had some interesting ones too. He said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna have a Visa card." Now I know what a can of worms Visa cards are, so I've seen so many come and go. Is that part of your plans, or are you going to avoid that?
No. So I do not believe the goal of crypto is so that you can use your crypto as an asset backing kind of traditional world spending. I'm really going towards, I think of fiat rails as backward compatibility. So that means the future is BSV on-chain payments. But in the meantime, if you need to onboard from a traditional rail, we're happy to kind of provide that bridge. But the bridge, while it might be bi-directional, it is very clear what direction we want this to go in, which is more from off-chain to on-chain. The Visa example is kind of accepting that, okay, Visa is the biggest off-chain spending vehicle today. Let's make this pinky little BSV thing work in Visa. I just don't have that attitude. So no, we won't support that.
I always thought the Visa debit card thing is more of a hack than a real solution anyway. I know some people find it useful, but in the long run, it's not really where you want to be going. That's my opinion. And
yeah, I mean,
oh yeah, go on.
No, it's just if you really think about it, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, and oh yeah, here we go. Will RelayX be releasing a pay button? So yeah, then we get into the pay buttons, pay mail, that kind of thing. Are you going to have anything to integrate with that or compete with those?
Yeah, we're going to do something a little bit different. So I think the BSV button has been done well by a range of services already. And we will provide almost like an on-chain API for people to build their own buttons, their own services. We may build one ourselves, but I want this to be very immersive and open for the different services. And so we've drawn some mock-ups of what this might look like, but we're really excited about what developers end up building themselves. So I have no interest in building walled gardens and things like that. And I think separately, your question was about Paymail.
Paymail, yeah.
We will support Paymail, certainly.
You will? Okay, excellent. And do you have any special system of awarding names or selling names or giving them out?
Yeah, we haven't released our exact plan yet, but I'll give you some parameters. It's important to me that people are not assigned a number. Because there's negative connotations on that. Every single person wants to feel like a unique individual, something that they can choose themselves. And I do recognize that there's a lot of spamming going on, right? So someone taking up 100 of the top names, top handles. So you can probably do a balance. So maybe something like beyond 8 or 9 characters or beyond 10 characters, you're allowed to freely choose your own, and there's no charge for that. And place a little bit of skin in the game towards using your service if you get a preferred handle. So certain characters or less, maybe those might have to have a little bit more skin in the game. But it won't be a fee. It won't be like you pay a price to buy that. So it won't be exactly a product revenue for us. Maybe it's like some kind of a deposit, some kind of a commitment. That's number one. And then I think there's definitely arguments for use cases for why there should be a secondary market on these pay mails for exchanging them and selling them. So while I don't think we will work secondary market kind of trading on day one, whenever we do it, we will not charge a fee on that.
Okay. And is there some kind of roadmap for when that's going to happen?
When Paymail, I would say that's also in the works right now. We're really testing it, so it's not too far off.
Excellent. All right, then. Well, that's probably all the questions we've got for you right now. I'll let you get back to your work, building real stuff for real people to use in the real world. If people want to, hear your opinions more, get to know you better, is Twitter still the best place to go, or do you have somewhere else where you're posting your thoughts these days? Yeah,
I'm trying to do a little bit more twitching, but Twitter is still a habit, so I post on Twitter a lot.
Oh, and I just remembered too, I wanted to ask you about the bootcamp that's in Bali. How's that going?
Okay, sure.
You said it's a very limited number of places available, right? It was only about 16 or 18?
Those were the number of applicants as of last week.
Uh-huh.
And we're expecting about 30 developers to come. Beyond that is kind of just out of control. And but I think maybe it's helpful if I explain a bit of the thinking behind the
Yeah.
bootcamp. So traditionally in crypto, it's all been about conferences. And I think that's because most of these other tokens have no utility
Mm-hmm.
and you cannot build anything on them. So you want to have a room full of investors to kind of all get excited about some kind of hype speech on stage and then all buy the token.
Yeah.
And
I've seen a lot of those.
that's the with BSV, you can see very clearly that there are new protocols coming out, new products coming out all the time. And there are win-win benefits in companies collaborating. So because we're all building on top of BSV. Therefore, I think it's helpful for the developers not to just go to a conference and sit there, but to rather have a community where they can like kind of for maybe 1 week a year, if it goes really well, maybe twice a year,
Yeah.
be able to code alongside other peers in the industry and maybe share with each other what are on each of the different teams' 3 to 6 month roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
And that will allow teams to kind of have a better division of labor as we tackle and build up the Bitcoin SV ecosystem. So I think that's what we're looking forward to at Cambrian. We're very amazed at how many of the top builders in this small space are going to be there in battle.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be, well, I've obviously more to share once we've experienced it.
Excellent. Yeah. And where can people find out more about that if they want to?
That's at CambrianSV.io.
CambrianSV.io.
Yeah, CambrianSV.io to reference kind of the Cambrian explosion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's generously sponsored by Bitcoin Association.
Okay. That's good to hear.
And CoinGeek and other media partners will be there to cover as well.
Okay. All right. Well, I look forward to hearing more about that, and I'm sure whoever's going is going to be looking forward to joining you as well. That's coming up later this year, I think.
Yeah, August 30th.
Oh, that's sooner than I thought. Right. All right. Well, enjoy that, everyone who's going, and yeah, check out CambrianSV.io or at CambrianSV on Twitter, I think, is another place. All right, Jack, it's great to finally talk to you at last after all these years, and I want to thank you for talking to us today. And I'll see you around.
See you.